Okay, so welcome back to a new one on this channel, and on this one we need to talk about key scales. Alright, so this is something new for Ableton 11, is a new feature, and it's a pretty useful one. So right here I have a MIDI track, just an instrument, and if I add a clip, now what we get is the ability to see the scales, on the grid in the piano roll. So the way we do so right here when you select the clip, if you go all the way to the left, you have the scale button now. If you click it, you're going to be enabling this. And then you just need to select your key, and then you have the type of scale, and you have all the most common scales and some, pretty weird ones. Now in this case, I'm going to go to C minor. And as soon as you do so, you can see right here that it's going to just give you an instruction of what this scale looks like, all the different notes. So right there you have the root, which is going to be, highlighted a little bit more than the other ones, and all the other notes that belong to that scale. So this feature, or these scales that we have right here, are not locking, which means that you can add the notes outside of the scale. Let me just give you an example. Let's say I'm going to be creating that, I'm going to be doing a third, I'm going to be doing a fifth. So what if I wanted to do maybe this one, that it's not within, the scope of the scale? Well, we can. On some DAWs, this is not something that you can do very easily. You need to do a combination of keys, and then maybe first add it to a note that belongs, and then move it to a note that doesn't belong to the scale. But in the case of Ableton, the scales are not blocking. That's what it means. So what we get right here is more like a guide than something that we can, use to shift notes. It's just like a guide. And right here, we can easily do something cool with this instruction. Let's say I want to, again, we are doing C minor. So I'm just going to be doing maybe, let's do minor one. It's going to be 1, 2, and 3. That's the third, then 4, and we can add a fifth. And just by doing so, we just can do different things. Let's do a sus2. What else? Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do a 4. Maybe we can just, make a 7th. And it's, super, super easy. I'm going to do that, and we can add a 7th. Remember, this is the 7th before the root of the next octave. And you know what? Maybe we can just do something like that and add an octave at the top. And just by doing this, you can experiment with different notes. Maybe I'm going to be doing this one and adding one right here. And just, maybe create maybe just create an arpeggio or something like that. Notice how simple this is. Let me go down volume. It's just a little bit too loud. Now if I play it back, it will just always sound musical. You can still, make all the changes, because now you have the guidelines right here at the back. It's just very simple. Let's add some notes in between. And notice how simple this is. Right? Just a very simple thing. Now, a couple more things. If you don't like the highlighting at the back, but you do like the highlighting on the piano roll, you can, with your keyboard, press the letter K, and the letter K will just get rid of the highlight on the grid, but it's going to keep the ones you have on the keyboard. Now, also notice that when you do so, the highlighting of the root note, it's not that obvious. It's the same, as the other ones. In my case, I like the highlighting at the back. Now, one more thing, if you don't care about the notes that, fall outside of the scale, you have the scale button right here. So when you press it, what it does is going to trim out all the notes that are, don't belong to the C minor scale. And you can only work with the notes that belong to the scale. It's, it's just completely up to you. It's just, an option that it's there. And if you like it, you can use it. In my opinion, I like this a little bit more, just I like it a little bit more. This is a little bit too just kind of confusing for me. But if you are just starting with scales, maybe this is a little bit easier for you. Okay, so when you use a scale, when you select a new scale, it's going to remember the scale that you selected. So if I maybe go right here and add a new MIDI track, whatever, whatever track, and double click, notice that it's remembering everything, even this option. But most importantly, it's remembering the scale that we used on the other track. So it will always bring you back to the last scale you used. So let's say that on this one, I'm just gonna remove that option, gonna turn off the scale option, and then I'm gonna be selecting, I don't know, maybe a different scale, a C Phrygian. Why not? Okay. So now, if I wanted to create a new clip right here on the same track where we have the C minor right here, notice it's not changing, I can create a new clip, but now it's going to be C minor. But now if I go right there, it's going to be C Phrygian. If I click it, it's going to be C Phrygian. Now again, remember the last one we used was Phrygian, so I'm going to be going to a new MIDI clip, and if I double click it, again, it's remembering the last scale I used. It's going to be C Phrygian. Now, the fact that you are standing on a track and you're standing on maybe a different clip, it doesn't mean that you can change this. So maybe I'm going to be going to, I don't know, just an F and minor blues, right? So if I go there, it's going to be F minor blues. But if I go to this one, it remembers that it was a C minor. So you just can, experiment with different scales if you want to. All right, so let me show you something else. Maybe going to go to this one. Why not? I'm going to make it a C, I don't know, major. Why not? So, okay, C major, they're all, all the white keys, right? So I'm going to be going to maybe a minor. Yeah, it's going to work. So, okay, so if I add a C, it's going to be C. If I go to the next one, it's going to be a C sharp, right? Now, if you right-click on the keyboard, you can have an option that says accidentals. And what the F is this? So this is how it's going to tell you right here is sharp or flat. So if I, again, click this, maybe I'm going to click it right here. If I change it to sharps, it's going to be sharps. But if I change it to flats, now it's going to be D flat because this one is D and this one is going to be D flat or C sharp. But if we are using sharps, it's going to be sharp or it's going to be D flat. This is an option. This is completely up to you. Depends on how you want to use it. Now, maybe you want to use both. Notice that you get it sharps and flats. So if you do so, it's going to say this one is going to be C sharp or it's going to be D flat. So this option is really, really useful, at least for me, because I do a lot of I record screen, and when I create something, it's just a little bit more obvious for, maybe if you're starting and you're a little bit confused with scales, that you can see that this is, sharp or, flat. So for me, it's useful. Maybe for now, maybe if you know about scales, this is not very useful. But again, if you're starting with scales, again, this is just a very visual and useful feature. Okay, so that's it. So hopefully you liked all of this. And remember, if you liked all of this and you learned something new, to like and subscribe. And if you have the money and you want to buy me a coffee, you can. Go to the links at the description. You have links for PayPal, you have YouTube thanks, and you have Patreon. All right, so see you on the next one.